I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
How we doing? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, and on today's show, it is a rundown of the actions in the NFL yesterday, Sunday. Also going to give you a final Monday Night Football prediction. I shared that on my previous show. I'll give you a little refresher on how I see the Raiders and Cowboys game going tonight. But really weird football season, to say the least. If the season ended today, the three-time consecutive AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, team who's won two of the last three Super Bowls, would not be in the playoffs, as they lost a tough one in Denver, going to hit on all the games. New York Giants usher in the interim coaching era of Mike Kafka. Some good and bad in that one. Definitely going to hit on it all. We're going to start this up in the NFC East. Another defensive struggle as the Eagles win in primetime. Giants and Commanders both lost late leads, and the Cowboys are in Vegas tonight. I'll open it up with Monday Night Football. Spoke about it with my guy Idris Salam on our weekly preview show. I really like the Dallas Cowboys offense to get going in a big way tonight. I think with having the bye week after the tragedy of losing their teammate, I think they've had time to absorb the tragedy. And I said it to my guy Idris Salam on the last show. A lot of times tragedy could galvanize a team. And I believe the Cowboys are going to be up to the task tonight in prime time, as I see a 40 burger headed in the Raiders' direction. I really like Dak Prescott to throw for over 300 and get his three main weapons involved in the receiving corps: CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Kevontae Turpin. I expect a big game out of the Dallas Cowboys offense. And while their defense still leaves much to be desired, I'm expecting a better game where they may get their hands on a couple of footballs. Geno Smith has thrown quite a few picks this year. Keeping it in the NFC East, New York Football Giants yesterday ushering in the Mike Kafka era. And I'll say this. I believe yesterday Kafka did a good enough job of playing to the Giants' strengths. Giants ran the ball at an efficient clip yesterday. Devin Singletary scoring twice. Jameis Winston providing the other score on the ground. Younghoe Koo, 2 of 3 on extra point attempts. His one miss was essentially a moderately difficult field goal, as they had backed up due to a penalty. Green Bay showed a lot of resolve in this game, as losing Josh Jacobs, inserting Emmanuel Wilson in for the second half. Earlier in the game, losing Jordan Love for a little while. Malik Willis actually made the throw of the game, in my opinion. throwing into some serious traffic into the Giants' end zone. Christian Watson was able to get his first score on the season. Green Bay far from their best, but they do break up a two-game losing streak as they'll be heading back to Lambeau to take on division rival Minnesota. I personally think the Packers still have a lot of work to do, but big part of the game, Micah Parsons stepping up big. He's had a propensity for having big games against the Giants over the years, being a member of the Dallas Cowboys for so long, and his play proved to be huge. I enjoyed watching Jameis Winston, who was filling in for Jackson Dart due to concussion protocol. Jameis is what he is. He's a gunslinger, but he's going to throw picks. And truthfully, he's very fortunate that there weren't 3 or 4 picks, as the Packers, in addition to having trouble holding on to Jordan Love passes on the defensive side, on the offensive side of the ball, also struggled picking off Jameis Winston. As you know, I think it was a lot of the rustiness that was on full display yesterday for Jameis, but definitely a gamer, definitely a guy that loves playing, and he brings a good energy. You could tell Jackson Dart was really pulling for him. I personally think Winston should have been the starter coming into week 1 as opposed to Russell Wilson. But this moves the Giants to 2-9. Post game, Mike Kafka very non-committal on if he was going to keep Shane Bowen around. I think it's interesting that the Giants allowed Bowen to hang on another week, and maybe Kafka is the guy that ultimately gets rid of him. But I thought Kafka did an admirable job of using what he had to work with to the best of his ability. Brian Burns brings his sack total to 13, leading the NFL, as definitely he is making a case for Defensive Player of the Year. And Michael Strahan's sack record is actually in play. It could be broken. I don't necessarily think Burns has to touch Strahan's record to win Defensive Player of the Year, but if he gets close to 20 sacks, it's definitely going to be debatable if he did enough to win Defensive Player of the Year. Giants have a road test in Detroit, as I imagine they are not going to be none pleased, possibly in a bad mood. As yesterday, one of my biggest critiques on Dan Campbell over the years, and I said it recently on the show, on the preview show, he has a bad habit of taking points off the board. That happened yesterday again. Eagles win by 7. I did predict them to win by 7, but I expected a much more offensive-driven game. You've got to give the Eagles credit. These guys have mastered the art of winning low-scoring, ugly games. And it's a credit to their coaching staff. I know that A.J. Brown has been very mouthy about his lack of touches on the offensive side of the ball, but the Eagles have a way of just leaning on teams, tiring out teams, and playing really good defense. And ever since the Thursday night debacle against the Giants, they have been on point, and they look like a team that can definitely get back to the Super Bowl. Going to be a very interesting final stretch in the NFL to see how that shapes up and plays out. Washington Commanders, I thought Marcus Mariota did everything he could do to win, but a special teams blunder cost them a W in Spain as the Miami Dolphins improved to 4-7. This essentially knocks the Commanders out of any long shot of making the playoffs. Jaden Daniels is supposed to be looked at and examined during this bye week they got coming up, and I would not be the least bit surprised if they shut him down for the year, being that they are out of the playoff picture and he is the franchise. NFC North, I already alluded to it. Dan Campbell needs to stop taking points off the board, period, end of sentence. Caleb Williams showing a great deal of class after getting the W, insisting that kicker Cairo Santos was involved in the post-game interview. Definitely a class move, a leadership move. And the Bears walk it off. Late field goal in Minnesota, getting revenge for their early season loss, which was actually J.J. McCarthy's first action of the season. McCarthy is struggling, no doubt. And, Aaron Rodgers was linked to this Vikings team coming into the season. A lot of people felt that when Carson Wentz went down, they may have considered making a move. Kirk Cousins, or even when McCarthy missed time earlier this year with his familiarity with that offense. None of that happened. They are rolling with JJ McCarthy, and you're going to get the good and the bad. This is essentially his rookie season. But the story's about Caleb Williams. This kid is continuing to grow as a quarterback. And after so many years of mediocre to bad quarterback play for the Chicago Bears, I've been super critical of him going back to his college career. But I do believe last year's #1 overall pick is starting to ascend into a true star quarterback as he is getting it done. Kyle Monaghan out of Rutgers putting one in the end zone. He's taking full advantage of his opportunity. And the Chicago Bears have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs in a very congested NFC North. The Vikings, this loss really hurts them. As last year, the final game of the NFL regular season saw the Vikings in a position to be the #1 overall seed. They had a phenomenal season last year, but unfortunately did nothing in the playoffs as then quarterback Sam Darnold took 8 sacks against the Rams. This particular Vikings team does not look like they're going to make the playoffs. NFC West, the game of the day, at least from the buildup going in, Rams outlasting the Seahawks. A defensive struggle through and through. It went similarly to how I expected it to go. I foresaw a very close game. Seattle's been really good on the road this year, so it's a good win for the Rams. Devontae Adams was dinged up coming in, but he was able to play through the pain. And the Rams hold on for a 2-point victory. As I think right now, where the NFL is, they are the biggest threat to stop an Eagles repeat in the NFC. Rams have a sturdy front seven, just a good overall defense. And Matthew Stafford is enjoying one of his better seasons as he has just received great protection from his offensive line all season long. San Francisco 49ers continue to make a liar out of me as they put up some big-time points in a blowout victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Bright spot for my fantasy team, although I didn't start him this week. I didn't need to. But Jacoby Brissett, another game putting up 25 or more points in fantasy. This is a guy that often playing from behind and having the keys to the offense for the remainder of the season with Kyler Murray out could be a good find for guys in the fantasy playoffs. Certainly didn't have it on my bingo card that this would be a guy that could win a fantasy championship, but Jacoby Brissett putting up some great numbers despite the fact that the Cardinals are just not a good football team right now. And Jonathan Gannon may pay for his team's performance, although I think he is a pretty good coach. NFC South, the Bucks defense, no match for Josh Allen and co. as the Buffalo Bills just basically did anything they needed to do on offense. They got off to a little bit of a slow start. James Cook got off to a little bit of a slow start. James Cook ultimately put together a nice game. And Josh Allen, in my opinion, proven yet again why he is the most dynamic quarterback in the NFL. I know that the playoff success doesn't match up with everything, but this man doesn't play defense. That Buffalo defense still very suspect. But much needed win for them as they try to keep their hopes alive of being within reach to catch the New England Patriots. But right now, the New England Patriots are in a tie for the #1 overall seed in the conference with the Denver Broncos. You hear those two teams, you think about Peyton Manning, you think about Tom Brady. This is a much different era in football right now. As the Bucks go, they got to look over their shoulder at this point. Carolina Panthers get a big win over the Atlanta Falcons. Walk-off victory. Their kicker has had a flair for the dramatic all year long. Another W for the Panthers as they pull off the 2-game sweep of the Atlanta Falcons. And I got to say, man, this Panther team has a legitimate shot to dethrone the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa has dealt with so many injuries. As they still wait for Bucky Irving's return, they still wait for Mike Evans' return. Baker Mayfield is an excellent quarterback, but they're just really banged up right now. And we'll see if they can withstand the surge that's coming from Carolina, as Carolina more than made up for their bump in the road losing to New Orleans the previous week. AFC West, Patriots, victory lapping AFC East title. Yeah, I would say so. Patriots are in a great position right now as they keep their undefeated road record. This week was actually a home game Thursday night, backing it up. Huge, huge game from the rookie Travion Henderson as they just overpowered and overmatched a New York Jets team that started rather well. The Dolphins continue to play hard for coach Mike McDaniel. I alluded to it at the top of the show. They do get a victory overseas against the Washington Commanders. Dolphins are essentially just playing for their coach right now, playing for pride, playing for opportunities going into the next year of some of these rookie seasons. Ollie Gordon, in limited opportunities, did his thing. Still not sold on the Dolphins' future or their vision, but a win's a win and a win they will take. Back to the Patriots for a second here, though. Mike Vrabel definitely should be a candidate for Coach of the Year. He has been sensational bringing this New England team back to relevance. This is a team that could legitimately qualify for the Super Bowl. This is not just some kind of flash in the pan stroke of luck. This is a really good football team that does a lot of the little things right, and that's why they are in first place right now. I do think Buffalo as a potential wild card, very intriguing given their playoff journeys over the last few years. The question is, will they have enough to go into somebody else's backyard and win on the road? One thing I'll say is I think the Patriots are built that way that they could go on the road and win games. I mean, they're undefeated on the road. They could very well have the number one seed. But this is a team, like let's say hypothetically, if they got to go into Indy, I feel confident that they could come out of there with a dub. But got to be exciting for Patriot fans as they are all the way back. AFC North, Shador Sanders getting action yesterday, but his initial NFL action, real NFL action, much to leave desired. Ravens, not their best, but enough to win on the road in Cleveland. Not the easiest place to get a dub as they continue to stay on the rear of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, to his non-throwing hand, suffered an injury yesterday. Far cry from the shootout that was the first meeting in Cincinnati, but the Pittsburgh Steelers do enough to get the dub. Mason Rudolph came in relief. Jaylen Warren was also banged up in this game, so that's something to monitor for the fantasy heads going into the new week. The Ravens and Steelers have not gone head to head yet. The Ravens are only a game out of first in the North. And looking at the layout of the AFC, it's a strong possibility that only one team will go to the playoffs from that division. Cincinnati's loss makes it really, really complicated, even when Joe Burrow does come back in a couple weeks for them to get back in it. And it's a shame, just such a phenomenal offense, but so many games this year that their defense has cost them. So once again, it looks like the Bengals will be staying home. AFC West shouts out Travis Kelce in a losing effort, breaking the Chiefs' touchdown record previously held by Priest Holmes. Late in the game, he gave the Chiefs a brief lead, but it was very brief as Will Lutz walked it off for the Denver Broncos. This is a game I really thought the Chiefs were going to win. The Chiefs dropped to 5-5. The Broncos improved to 9-2. And the only team that even so much as has a puncher's chance to catch the Broncos is actually the Los Angeles Chargers. But the Chargers came out very flat yesterday in Duval against the Jaguars. Justin Herbert, probably his worst game of the season. And although they do have an earlier season W, right now it looks like it's Denver's division to win. They could also be in a victory lap mode and also thinking past just, winning the division. They share a really cool distinction with the Patriots right now as the hottest teams in the NFL, both on 8-game winning streaks. Broncos are very dangerous. I'm still not sold on Bo Nix completely. This is a game where I thought RJ Harvey was going to do a little more. He's now the number one back as J.K. Dobbins, the often injured running back, yet again shut down for the season. Very unfortunate for him. But this Broncos defense on so many layers is just really good. And Sean Payton continuing to put them in positions to win. The offense at times has been challenging, but they're doing enough to get it done. AFC South. Texans win ugly in Tennessee, but unfortunately, this could be a situation of too little, too late, as I'm just not sure if there's enough time or enough, open ground where the Texans could get in. Similar to how I said about the North and the AFC, I think the South is another division that is going to be very tough for anyone getting in other than the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars right now shot at a wild card, as do the Texans. Am I still believing in the Chiefs too much? I mean, this is a team that dropped to 5-5 yesterday. I still think the Chiefs have an easier path to getting into an AFC wild card than some of these teams in the South, but time will reveal that. Uh, by having the bye week, the Indianapolis Colts actually get knocked out of the number one seed for the moment as they are enjoying the bye week. But I don't see anybody catching Indy in this division. It's still a healthy lead right now. I think Jacksonville and Houston, the best one of them could probably do is steal a lower wild card. Time will reveal that as well. New York Knicks in Miami tonight, looking for their first home victory of, first road victory of the season. They have been terrific at home, only dropping one game to the Orlando Magic. It's a 5-game roadie. Knicks will be without the services of not only OG Anunoby, but superstar point guard Jalen Brunson. So Mike Brown's going to have to get what he could out of a larger rotation and hope that guys like Landry Shamet could step up. New York Rangers defeated yesterday at MSG to the Detroit Red Wings. This is just really hard to figure. The Rangers are phenomenal on the road this year. 9-1-1 on the road. I believe after yesterday, they dropped to either 1-7-1 or 1-8-1 at MSG. It is just truly hard to figure because in most hockey seasons, if a team has the record that the New York Rangers have on the road, you expect them to be atop the Eastern Conference standings. Right now, they are currently tied with the New York Islanders for wild card position. And, there's so much hockey left, but, I feel bad for Jonathan Quick, 40 plus saves yesterday. But if you can't get anything from your offense, Minka Zibanejad, a power play goal, that was it. And they're just not getting enough shots on goal. The ice was tilted, so to speak, as my late father would say. But New York Rangers, it's frustrating, squandering a great performance from backup goalie Jonathan Quick. And I've said this on numerous shows over the past couple of years. Ever since Igor Shesterkin got the big money, it seems like Jonathan Quick has been more locked in at goalie. But this is a team that had a lot of player movement in the offseason. I do want to speak about something off the field for the Jets as, their hard times go past the football field. At a very popular hot spot in Midtown Manhattan yesterday, say less, Chris Boyd, who has yet to play a game for the Jets this year, was shot. NYPD has kind of been tight-lipped on all the details. There is some video out there of this incident, but just a very unfortunate thing. As I understand that he's not playing right now. I understand that New York is a city that never sleeps, but you want your players to make better choices and keep better company. I think that's the best way to put it. But wishes to him on a decent recovery. I understand that he's in stable but critical condition. NYPD said that the suspect is still at large. Just unfortunate. This is a blessing to play professional sports. And you would think that your athletes would just put themselves in a little bit of safer situations. And that's something that possibly needs to be repreached through some of the NFL alum and guys that, look over today's talent Cowboys for the dub tonight. Knicks tall order in Miami. We'll see how that plays out as they are 1-1 on the year against each other. Knicks have not won a home game, a road game yet. Keeps the Rangers and Knicks are basically opposites in MSG. The Knicks are awesome at MSG. The Rangers are awesome on the road. It's just very weird in the early going for the MSG teams. Future show, gonna get my guy Richard Dorney on as we are going to get into the deets of the MLB free agency period, give some predictions and some good fits for players, possibly changing addresses. Josh Naylor, yesterday late, closed up a deal with the Seattle Mariners as he will be staying there for the foreseeable future, a 5-year deal. Don't have the exact money on that, but good idea for the Seattle Mariners to keep together, a huge part of their success from last year. But there's a lot of big names in this free agency period. Cody Bellinger did not take the Yankees qualifying offer. He could be back. He could be somewhere else. Pete Alonso, we're going to see if the Mets can keep him. Superstar reliever Edwin Diaz, another guy that the Mets are going to want to hone in on to keep, as you never want to lose a closer like him. So, plenty to speak about out of MLB's free agency. I look forward to getting my guy Richie on the show for that one. Until next time, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Check out the V Mix, the Vicious Mix with our guy, Idris Salam on live365.com. Check out our friends Joe Gal and Johnny Nast on the Sports Corner. Check out the Bleed Blue podcast as well as the Casual Convo Show every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Out for now, I will be giving you details on our next show, which may very well be the MLB free agency show. Enjoy your Monday. I'm out.